Welcome back to the Morning Blend. Our next guest, get this, built their own wooden kayak and decided to put it to the ultimate test by traveling thousands of miles down the Mississippi River. But it wasn't just an adventure this married couple was looking for. Barb and Gene Geiger decided that all along the way, they would volunteer with nonprofit organizations. They documented their experience in their memoir. It is called Paddle for a Purpose. Barb and Gene Geiger are still married, we're happy to say, and they're here to share some highlights of their trip. Great to see both of you.
Thank you.
Now, I heard that, so this is a 5-month trek,
yes.
Which is unbelievable, but I heard about halfway through, you heard that a kayak for 2 people had a rather interesting nickname.
That it is.
What is it?
We found out it was called a divorce boat. A little bit too late.
How was it, though, really, spending that much time? How long have you been married?
It'll be 12 years in
Okay.
August.
How was it spending 5 months together all the time like that?
For me, it was amazing. I think we're closer now than we were before.
Absolutely.
You agree?
It strengthened our relationship and our faith. It was a great trip.
Good for you guys. That's fantastic. All right, let's talk a little bit about this adventure. So you paddled the Mississippi all the way doing service to others. How did you come to this idea? Because you could go about and serve others without paddling the entire way to and from.
Well, it was a compromise. Gene came up with the idea of paddling the Mississippi River after our first time out on the boat.
Really?
We were putting it in the water to see if it would float because we built the thing. And as soon as we realized it would float, he wanted to do the Mississippi River.
And how far is that?
If you go all the way to the end of the Delta, about 2,300 miles. But,
and did you go all the way to the Delta?
We actually went to down the Tennessee Tom Bigby for the bottom couple hundred miles. So we really did just under 2,000.
Wow.
And we finished in Mobile, Alabama.
Were parts of it dangerous?
Well, if you consider alligators and water moccasins, and
yes.
Then yes.
Okay. Were you freaked out?
A little bit, but not till the end of the trip.
Okay. That's where you saw most of that?
Yes.
Wildlife?
At the beginning, the headwaters are gorgeous. The middle of the upper Mississippi is beautiful. We had some trouble with rapids.
Okay. And where did you start?
We started at Lake Itasca, which is Itasca State Park in Minnesota.
Okay, in Minnesota, and went down to Alabama, is where your trip ended. Did you plan out as you're going where you'd stop and where you would volunteer?
We planned out some of them, probably about 2 months worth of service stops.
Okay.
And we had to find places that were along the Mississippi that were walking distance because we had no vehicle.
True. And would you camp or would you stay in hotels?
When we were in town working with the service, a lot of times we did the cheapest hotel in town.
Okay.
But when we were on the river, it was always camping, sandbars or wherever we could. Because everywhere we went, it was either kayak or Nike. We didn't have any other transportation.
Wow. Kayak or Nike. I like that. I don't particularly like camping. I've been honest about that on the show, and I spent my whole childhood camping with my family, and I finally admitted that I don't really particularly care for it. Do you both truly love and enjoy camping?
Molly, I was exactly like you.
Really?
I had camped my whole life, and I had boated my whole life, and I still love boating, but I thought I was done with camping. And he said, let's do the Mississippi and let's camp all the way down. And
what did you say at first? Sounds
said,
great, honey?
No, I said, you want to what? I said, I think that's kind of a crazy idea. We've been on the boat for about 2 miles. Do you know how long the Mississippi is?
What about taking that amount of time away from the regular part of your life, full-time jobs perhaps, or other people that you care for in your lives? What about that aspect of it?
For me, it wasn't a big deal because I had just retired.
Okay.
But Gene was still working full-time.
I was still working, but when I passed the idea of service past my employer, he was just thrilled with it, decided that, he said, I'll see you in 5 months.
Wow.
And actually, he gave me a 6-month leave, but we didn't need it all.
That's fantastic. Good for you. Good for your boss.
Isn't that
Amen.
great?
Because I've said on the show before, people don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad bosses. It sounds like you've got a decent boss.
I do.
That's fantastic. I love hearing about that. What about unexpected things that happen during your trip? So I would think doing what you do, you had to plan or try to plan for the unexpected. But then I think it's always those things that you never even dreamed of come up and they're an issue.
We left one flex day between each of the services. So if bad weather came up or if anything happened, we would be okay and we'd still be able to get there on time. What we didn't expect were all the rapids and the water conditions in the Headwaters. And the water was so high that we capsized the boat 10 minutes after we started, before we got out of the park.
Oh my God! And were you thinking, you know what? That might be a sign this is not meant to be.
No, it was funny.
We were standing waist deep in 35-degree water, bailing the boat out and putting everything back in, and we should have probably changed clothes and just restarted, but we just got back in the boat and kept going.
Good for you.
It was a little embarrassing to stay there.
Yeah, I get that. You got your pride going. Yeah. And what about, were you exhausted every night? Because I think kayaking, there's a whole lot of exercise involved in that.
There is.
It was about 10-hour days. So once we set up camp, we went to bed pretty early.
I bet.
We were listening to the brewing section, the first story, and we commented that we had a six-pack with us, that we found a place in the boat to pack a six-pack, but we passed out every night in the tent and we never drank much of it.
Never needed it. It doesn't sound like as a little. And what about the places that you would serve? Do you have any favorite that you could mention? Because I bet you met some really cool people.
There were 25 services, and we tried to do a nice variety of everything. We did some educational, we did some service for like homeless shelters, food pantries, that kind of stuff. We pitched our tent under the freeway bridge, you know. But we also had some services where, like, we worked on a house for Habitat for Humanities. We did summer lunch program for the Salvation Army, where they would go around town giving out brown bag lunches to kids. We did adult education for people to get their GEDs. We did a program for adults who just got out of prison.
Such a cool variety in
that
what
was
you
the
did.
idea.
It wasn't just serving kids, it wasn't just serving incarcerated people. I bet the wealth of knowledge and experiences you gained were incredible. And people can actually meet you tonight. Again, we want to mention the book is Paddle for a Purpose. The book is available if you go to, let's see, Election, is that right? I'm sorry.
Electio Publishing.
Electiopublishing.com. But you can also go to paddleforapurpose.net. And your book signing is tonight at 7 p.m. It's at Books and Company in Oconomowoc. A chance to meet you, get a copy of the book, and share some on some of those great experiences. Thanks to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate your time. It was
great.